as Black people, we believe in livestock, because livestock is the thing to have for a Black person. If you have land, you must have livestock. Yes. There's one way that Black people can now invest, which I love. For me, that I love with all my heart. That livestock investment, there's this guy called, I forgot his name and I didn't write it down. But he's the only one in the country who's actually dealing with livestock investments. And he's saying that their returns roughly could be anything between 13 and 15% per annum. Yeah, and he's so creative. They're saying that you can buy a full cow for about 20,000 rand. But if professionals don't have that 20,000, they can share a cow and they can divide it in 3 or 4. So you have your 3 friends and you own a cow, and then when that cow gives birth, you now have another little one, who is going to bring in even more money and stuff. Man, that guy created a model this is just sheer brilliance, So that's one thing. And you also pay insurance for the cows because they have to go feed them, they have to vaccinate them to make sure that they remain healthy and. So people who are interested, they can find that out. So there's another investment that I like, which is property. We are living in a place where low-cost housing is at its highest, is at its highest demand, and there is not enough land and facilities to be able to provide housing for that. So if one invests your money in the township maybe and building up some flats or build up some student accommodation or whatever it is, you can actually get into that business and make money consistently. And this is why I say, if you want to be financially free by the age of 40 while you're still working, you can be able to get into the property business by investing some of your money in property, so that you can start renting out. Because once you start renting out that one room with a bathroom and a little kitchenette, that money is forever. You understand what I'm saying? And that money is starting to challenge your monthly income. Those are the two that I see. And then the other, and those are the kind of what we would call them unconventional ways of investing. Of course, there are other bank-related products that you can buy, and that in the form of shares, and bonds, and those you can actually buy through a bank, or you can ask your financial advisor, and they can tell you what you can buy. You can also invest your insurance products. Maybe if you want your child's education to be handled by the insurance companies, they often do that. What my issue with that is that when you are sitting with a financial advisor, they are telling you how much you can potentially make. And we see these wonderful big figures after 20 years. And we think, wow, no, I think I'm adequately covered. What often happens is that the economy does not turn around and do and perform exactly according to the numbers that they've given you, and then you end up with 20, if not 30% of what you were expecting. So, and in that way, and only to find that even within your contributions on month to month, every year your premiums will go up by 10%, but the investment never seems to grow by that 10% or more, because in order for you to beat the inflation and your money to grow properly, you've got to have inflation plus another percentage on top of that for you to be able to call that a profit. And that's where, in my view, most of these big corporates and their investment products have failed a lot of people. That's basically what I'm saying. And I'm also saying that there are some other investments that do have a good payout. But again, you need to define what is a good payout for you. For me, having been in the banking industry and understand the tricks of the trade, I would rather do my own financial freedom in my own unconventional way, in a sense that I'd rather own a few pieces of property, yes, and money comes in directly to me. Maybe I might have a little savings, maybe for my pension, where I can get 3,000 rand a month or whatever the case may be. That's okay. But if the bulk of my money, I'm in direct control of that, and that I am not relying on any other company to provide that income for me. For me, that is a lot more empowering, you know. And if I can understand that, if I had a piece of ground, even if it's just 200 square meters, I can be able to provide food for myself for the rest of the year without having to depend on the system. Because again and again, we will continue, as you said in the beginning of this conversation, that our education system has actually failed us. Yes. I believe governments of the world have actually dismally failed their own citizens worldwide. And that does not discount us at all. We are also included. And this begs the question, then who is supposed to look after us? And the answer to that is only you and I are responsible for you and I, and nobody else. The government is not going to take care of you. It's your job to take care of yourself.
Mama, it's not a secret that the way we, the young people of today, live is quite different from that of back in the day. In a sense that relationships of today are governed by money, materials, and possessions. I always see on Twitter a couple of celebrities tweeting that we should never let anyone tell us that money is not important in a relationship, because it is. The question here is that as young people, how do we work around the issue of money in our relationships?
Luckily, I have a 30-year-old son, and my daughter is 27.
Yes.
Okay, so those are young professionals.
Yes.
And my son, once or twice, has really been tricked by a girl. So I'm going to give you a very practical example. See, when you are a young man, when you earn an X amount of money, all right? And remember, we talked about the budget. And something that I forgot to to tell you, by the way, and part of the aspect of the budget is that you must have your own entertainment budget. You have to have that. If you can arrange your finances that, if you can have close to 50% of your money going into all the necessities, that's your savings, your housing, your utilities, your transport, and and then the other money for savings, I usually encourage, especially young professionals, especially those who have not got into debt yet, I always encourage them to take rather 20%. Why? Because 10% is for investment, the other 10% is to start getting yourself ready for either buying your own car or your house. You need to have a deposit. Okay. And one of the things that you need to have in your budget is your spending money. You must have that. So back to relationships. When you understand your pockets, that I'm only earning 1,000 rand a month, and 70% of that money is already dedicated for the basic necessities of life. Never, ever, ever lie to this young, beautiful girl and say, you earn 10,000 rand, and therefore you start taking a credit card, going and entertaining her, and she has this insatiable appetite for stuff and money. Trust me, you are going to lose her in a very short space of time, because when you have completely maxed your credit cards, she is going to leave you high and dry. Did you hear what I said? Ne?
Yes, I did.
I've already seen 7 of my boys in the same mess. One guy had the highest debt of entertaining a girlfriend of 75,000 rand. It took him 3.5 years to get rid of the debt. And eventually, him and I said, come here, my son. We had a credit card cutting ceremony. me and him, and we bought KFC with some of his colleagues, and they played music. When he was interviewed at some stage, I said to him, "You are more than enough to love and be loved without having to buy love. You don't buy love." Same thing with the girls. You are more than enough to love and be loved without begging and screaming for somebody to love you, and even go to an extent of buying him to love you. Because remember, money is a spirit. There's a psychology to money. The money is a spirit. The more you are in a position of lack, you feel that you just don't have enough, money runs away from you. Because it is a spirit. So you need to have a friendly and a good, solid relationship with money, and your belief system must actually change. Because if you come from a background that says we've always been poor, so debt is normal, and therefore you will continue to be in debt, and you'll never get out of debt because that's what you believe. And what you believe tends to come outside of you and manifest itself in the whole world. So the issue of relationships is very important. So when you do meet a girl, set your expectations, because at some stage you are going to be talking about cash. I have another young friend of mine. He's about 58. Maybe he's not that young anymore. Yes. And he calls me. When he met this girl, he was very, very crazy about her. And I said, "Do me a favor, dude." And we have coffee, me and him, and I said to him, "Listen, set the expectations right. Just tell her, Danabantu, I love you, ding dong. I may not have all the money in the world, but I can share my heart with you."
Yes.
What have you done by doing that? What you've done is you've set some expectations to say, "Listen, I'm not a millionaire, but if you really want somebody who's good, I'm here. But if it's money that you're looking for, you might just as well run now." Because again, money is a spirit. The minute you mention anything about money, people pick up the cues immediately. And they will either stay or run. And that's the best way. Rather lose somebody now than later. Then you have already invested all your money, and 75,000 or 150,000 rand later, you sit with all the regrets, and you can't move, and you can't even have somebody else in your life because you are so poor and in debt. So transparency about money. You don't necessarily have to disclose how much you earn, but you can actually start chatting about money and how you prefer to manage money, and what is your belief about money, and so on and so on.
So, having mentioned all these insightful points, what tips would you give to any young professional that wants to enhance their commitment to saving money?
Okay, that's a good one. You see, once you have a compelling reason for saving, you don't necessarily need someone to tell you that you must be committed. If you want something bad enough, you can't be motivated. You are actually self-driven to do what is right for yourself. So a lot of people, because they don't have passionate pursuits, they don't know what they're looking for. When I run my career exploration boot camp, 90% of the people don't know what kind of job they want to do. They have no cooking clue. They just take the job for the sake of making money and then regret later. But the upside of that is that if they hate that job, at least they know that this is something that they don't like and they will never repeat it again. And that's kind of empowering to be miserable, and it helps you to be a better person, But unless you have a compelling reason for you to save, you will never be able to save. Okay?
Yes.
So, and another way of increasing your commitment, once you have this compelling reason, automate your savings deductions. Make a debit order. So that by the time your salary hits your bank account, the very first thing that goes out of your account is your savings. Then whatever is left is what has to be used for other priorities, purely because in this economic climate that we're living in today, the possibility of people being retrenched is a lot more higher than